The Dunlending tribes, evil men loyal to the wizard Saruman, are here today, and we are showing off their faction in a faction overview video. We haven't done one of these in a little while, but yeah, I think the last one we did was Rohan. But I decided let's do Dunlending, the Dunlendings, because well, they basically are done. I think they're not really going to get any new units. I think on the trailer actually it says they are a finished faction. So yeah, and I think Dunland's looking pretty good as it is, and a lot of people have been talking about Dunland and how I've seen a few people in the comments anyway have been saying how Dunland's a bit of a weak faction and stuff like that, and I don't think it is. I think it's quite a strong faction, and I felt like this would be a good video to kind of talk about its strengths and weaknesses, while also obviously showing off all the units for you guys, because we don't even see all the units for Dunland in battles often because people just bring the high tier stuff. But anyway, we'll get on with this video. If you guys are enjoying seeing faction overviews and want to see more of them, do leave a like, subscribe if you're around here as well, and feel free to leave a comment as well. I know they're always interesting to read the comments and people talking about all sorts of stuff. But anyway, tribal warriors here. This is the first unit. I've decided to put axes and swords together. We'll do axes, swords. I think we've got missiles next, then shock, spears, and everything else really after that. So yes, we have tribal warriors here, very light axe unit, very much like the orc rabble of the Dunlending tribes really. I mean, these guys are very poor armor, very poor missile block chance, very well, they actually got good melee defense, which is actually kind of surprising. I mean, they do have, I guess, a pretty nice big circular shield here. But yeah, their melee attack is 26, which is not too bad. I mean, that probably comes with being an axe unit. Melee damage is 32, again, being an axe unit. It's not, it's pretty decent. Charge bonus 20. Melee defense 40, which is, it's not too bad to be fair. Armor at 15. Health at 80. I guess it's going to be probably base. Most human factions do have a health of like 80. And then morale is probably not too great. 20. Yeah, it's not too, I guess, too bad for such a low tier unit. It's kind of pretty average. And yeah, missile block chance there at 15, showing they're pretty poor missile block. And 38 speed, which obviously you can see they're not very well armored. They can move pretty quickly. But yeah, certainly a pretty good unit that you could throw into a choke point, I guess. It's got 190 men in the unit, so you could throw into a choke point. It's got decent melee defense. So these guys are going to be okay to defend, and there's a lot of them, so it's going to take a little bit of time to kill them. Also, another unit that you could use to push up siege equipment. Whether it's a ram, whether it's towers, pretty good unit in that case. And yeah, it's probably going to take a lot of casualties, but do you really care? It's such a low tier unit, it doesn't really matter whether it takes casualties or not. But anyway, that is the tribal warriors. That's we don't really see this unit very often, but they are in the game and they are often used. This is a unit we do see quite often, and that is the Warlord's Bloodspawn. We'll have a quick look at these guys. You can see here with a very big rectangular shield. Looking angry, a little bit more armored, and they have a nice big club, or some of them have some of the maces there. You can see spike maces. So yeah, a pretty nasty unit, and this unit kind of reminds me of quite a lot of the Swaby units that you see in Rome 2 for some reason. Now they have a unit I think that's called Bloodspawn actually as well. Probably why it reminds me of it. But these guys are pretty damn good. They actually don't have any very good melee defense compared to the tribal warriors. But yeah, which is kind of surprising because they got a huge shield. But good missile block chance, which I guess you get from the huge shield. Good melee attack, comes with having a mace. 170 men in the unit, so it's still a fairly big unit. These are some big units that you're seeing here. Bloodspawn could be a really good unit to bring. Certainly in a low tier match, I think, because they you just have numbers. You just would have so many numbers. And these guys are actually really good on the attack. Melee attack at 31, so it's a little bit better than the tribal warriors. Then we've got melee damage of 24, so that's massively down though from the tribal warriors. Tribal warriors get a really good melee damage. Same charge bonus as the tribal warriors. Melee defense is actually massively down as well. It's nearly, well, it's 12 points down. Armor is up though, obviously at 45. Health at 80, so like I said, that's gonna be a standard. Morale is a massively increased, so at 36. So that is the only problem that the tribal warriors, even though they've got some really cool stats, they are going to break really quickly. So tribal warriors could also be a really good flanking unit, because then they're not really going to be attacked. Speed is still at 34, so it's still a really quick unit, and 60 missile block chance. So these guys are pretty good for missile block. That's up there with some really good Gondorian units. But yeah, they're pretty good. And they can form shield wall, which is also another good thing. So yeah, Bloodspawn, often see them being brought. They're a really good unit. I would fully recommend bringing them. But yeah, we'll move on to the next unit, which is the final unit of swords, which is over here. Here they are. This is the Dunherd Swords. These boys are really, really nice. Look at them. I mean, they give me sort of like Viking Varangian sort of vibes. They look awesome. And the wolf on their head, just to top it off, looks amazing. Yeah, this is a really good looking unit in my opinion. And you can see there from the stats, you got all greens, you got excellent melee defense, good melee attack, average armor, which, I mean, average, I don't know if that should really be green, but I guess it's a positive in some ways. We have melee attack at 37, so that's I think the best out of the three. And then you got melee damage at 36, so it's climbing back towards that 40 that the tribal warriors had. And then you got melee defense there at the highest at 52, so good. I mean, you can tell from like the Isengard hand-me-downs that they have going on here that they're going to be well armored and they're going to have pretty good melee defense. You can see their armor at 60. Morale, I mean, that's at 36. That's actually the same as the Bloodspawn, so I'm kind of surprised. That speed down at 32, they are a bit more armored, so they do sacrifice some speed. Missile block at 35, so yeah, I mean they do have quite a small shield, so they are probably more vulnerable. But I would have thought maybe with the armor they maybe could block a few more shots. I really like their swords as well. Look at the swords. If we can actually, we're going to get a bit more of an angle. Look at that. Is that just like a broken Isengard sword that they just thought, you know what, Dunland will make something of this. They'll be able to use it, and then yeah, looks so cruel. And then you got like the this boy here with his massive double axe. I really love that unit. But yeah, 140 men in a unit. This is a pretty solid unit. I mean, Dunherd Swords, really, really good. They're probably going to see this quite often in most Dunland rosters. But yeah, these are really, really good. But anyway, we will now move on to the archers. And here we are with the archers. Like we started with the swords and axes, we are going to start with the low tier stuff and then work our way up. And obviously the low tier stuff means we start with the tribal hunters. So obviously tribal troops are the lowest tier in everything, it would seem. Very poor armor, very poor missile block chance, and very poor melee defense. So these guys aren't that great. They're again a bit like bow rabble, in my opinion, a little bit with just like their abilities. As you can see, yeah, very poor armor. They're just wearing like sheepskins. Poor melee defense. Well, you can't really defend yourself when you've got a sheepskin on. A missile block chance, well, you've got nothing to protect yourselves with if you've got no shield. So yeah, you are going to get kind of killed pretty quickly. But yeah, melee attack at 17. I mean, these stats don't really matter too much because archers never really have good ones. Melee defense at 25. Melee damage, sorry, at 25. Melee defense at 15. Armor at 5. Yeah, missile block chance at 5. Morale is going to be low. It's going to be the lowest, I think. Yeah, it's 17. Yeah. Ammunition 24, which is pretty standard for just most bow units. And then it's range 150. So I mean, they're getting outgunned by just about any like decent arch unit. Obviously, the elves are up at like 200 and something. I think most like men factions are like at somewhere like 175. They are a little bit short of the elves. They're certainly not down at 150. Most low tier bows are like at 150, and accuracy at 15. So you can see they're like, they're probably like a cheap unit that you want to bring, that can like just sort of harass a unit. Maybe if you've got like a spare bit of money, you might bring these guys. I mean, they can hide in a forest, so so basically they hide in forests and stay hidden until you're like really, really close. So that's obviously a very good trait to bring. So got to keep that in mind. That if you're like wanting a unit that can sort of like I said, if you're harassing from a forest line, this could be a pretty good unit to bring, because they could go probably the entire battle, use all their ammo without being found if an enemy's not really paying attention as to where the arrows are coming from. But anyway, we'll move on from the tribal warriors and we'll move on to the slightly better archers, which are the elder archers. These boys are pretty damn nice, and you can see we're already onto like a pretty upgraded unit. We often see these guys in battles. These guys and the next ones are usually the most commonly used bow units. But I mean, even still, these elder archers, they're not that great. I mean, very poor missile block chance, very poor armor, poor accuracy. I mean, they're still not that great. And they can do the same things as like the tribal warriors. They can hide in forests. But yeah, they've got melee attack of 21, melee damage of 25, melee defense 20. So they're basically the same sort of stats as the tribal hunters. Armor at 25, though, is a bit of a difference. It's like 5 times what the tribal hunters had. Then we've got melee block chances like double at 10. Morale is now at 30 though as well, which is a massive improvement. Range at 200. So there you go. Most people, yeah, I think most bow units are at 200. So that's a massive difference. As these guys can actually fire like the distance that most of the factions can fire, which is 200. I think the elves are at like 225. And then you've got like accuracy at 23, so you also have a bit of an improvement in accuracy. So even though they're still not really great in like the whole like defense department, they are sort of better now in like range and accuracy. I mean, that's the issue with Dunland until you get to the next unit, is that their archers are kind of, well, not really protecting themselves. So if you're dueling with other archers, you're going to lose the fight probably with these units that we've shown off so far. But if you're just shooting at other like infantry, you're obviously going to be fine. But you're still probably not going to get too many kills with these stats. But the next unit is a little bit better. I mean, it's certainly better as well for the old Archer v Archer scenario, which is obviously these guys, and they look beautiful. Look at these guys. Again, very much the same as the Dunherd Swords. They just look the same, but just with a bow instead, which is just down here, a little short bow. Well, actually, no, it's kind of a long bow. It looks very much like Lurtz's bow as well. But yeah, even still, these guys got very poor missile block chance. I mean, that kind of just the thing with archers, I guess, unless they like got scale armor on like Gondor. Average accuracy and poor melee defense. They're still not that great for like archers. Like that's not that great. But yeah, they got melee attack of 26, melee damage of 25. So it's got a little bit of an improvement in melee attack, and melee defense has gone up a little bit. Armor's now at 40, which is just the same as the infantry, I'm pretty sure. And then we've got melee block chance at 15, so it's up a little bit from the other two units, but still not much. Base, like, morale is at 36, so I mean, they're doing pretty well there. As well, I mean, they're not going to break. If you throw them into combat, they won't just instantly break. Ammunition, yeah, still 24, range 200, and accuracy is now at 33, so I mean, that's a third of their hits, a third of their shots are going to hit, basically, is what that's saying. I don't know if they like the ability hide. It seems like they all have this, like, until they can get really, really close. I don't know if that's just, like, every arch unit. I don't really know, but I would have thought that would have been, like, just unique for hunters and stuff like that, but it seems maybe not. I'm not really sure. I'm not entirely sure, but I love that, like, this, everyone else has a bow, and there's just this guy, like, I have a massive axe. I mean, I'm going to be great when we get into combat, but not at range. But yeah, that's the Dunherd Archers. That is the final arch unit, but I do have another unit to show you off, which is another range unit, which I thought, you know what, we'll stick it in here. And that's the Tribal Youths. And these guys are pretty handy. I mean, Javies are very, very powerful in ROM. Obviously, these are very light skirmishers, so they are very vulnerable to getting shot themselves. I mean, you can see they have no armor on. They're very poor armor, obviously, poor accuracy, and very poor missile block chance. Yeah, there's 190 of them in the unit. But I guess, again, if you've got very little money left, and you're like, I don't really want to upgrade stuff, I kind of need some more units, this unit might be the unit to bring. And if you can get around the flank, if you've got like two lines of infantry fighting each other, and you can get this around the flank and Javi into the back of the enemy, you could probably kill a good amount of men, and possibly even rout the unit. But yeah, melee attack at 15, melee damage at 13, melee defense 34. It's actually quite high, to be fair, as our melee defense. It's nearly as high as the tribal warriors that we saw. Armor at 15, which is kind of surprising they have that much armor with so little on themselves. Missile block chance at 15, which is the same as Dunherd Archers, which seems a bit bizarre. Morale is going to be really low. It's going to be 20, so they aren't going to be able to fight very long. Range is 60, so obviously you need to get really close with the javelin. You can't throw it as far as you can fire a bow, just simple as. Ammunition 8, you don't have as many, but they're more powerful. And accuracy at 17, so they're still not that accurate for really. I mean, but I mean, you're getting so close that surely, I think that kind of counteracts, I would have thought. Like, the closer you are, like at 60 range, you're probably going to hit quite a lot of stuff, I would have thought. But yeah, they're a really good unit. Javies are very, very good in ROM. Can certainly be really good anti-cav units as well, but obviously, if this unit's about to get charged by cav, it's probably going to rout. It's probably going to get off one volley before. So you need to kind of use it as a support unit, I'd say more. Maybe like javelin, like I said, infantry lines. Or maybe jamming a cavalry fight, that could also work as well. But there you go, there is all of the range units, archers and javies. We will now move on to, I think I've got shock next, and then we will move on to spears. So I'll see you guys in a moment. The Warhounds of Dunland. I forgot we had these guys to show off. So I put these guys which kind of was shock, because I thought, why not? There's nowhere really in particular to put them. So I stuck them here. So we have obviously the Dogs of Dunland. And we've seen these guys plenty. I mean, Mythic, if you know him, he's been in many of the Rise of Mordor streams. He's done lots of just all dog builds. Well, it's only one build, but I mean they are really powerful. They have actually all got all green stats. They've got average missile block chance, average armor, and average melee defense. I mean, it's average is everything, but it's, I guess at least it's not poor. But you can see here melee attack 31, melee damage 36, charge bonus 20, melee defense 36, armor 55. These guys have got insanely good armor actually, for a very cheap unit. Put it like that. Morale is actually really high as well. I mean, it's 36. I mean, the dogs will fight till every single one of them's dead. The obviously the crew, like the tamers, can run, but the dogs will fight on till there's nothing left. And then the speed 34. Obviously, that's just the men. The dogs are much quicker. And missile block chance at 45, which is pretty high. I mean, these guys have got, yeah, I guess a big shield, but even still, like, it's a bit high, I would think, for them. I mean, it's higher than some melee infantry units. But yeah, they have done. It's a really cool unit, and definitely want to probably bring some of these if you're playing as Dunland. I think they're really good at taking out archers, and also they just kind of harass units. And they're really. I mean, if you're fighting in an infantry line and then these guys come into your back, like that's a real problem. That's like it's almost as bad as Cav, like going into your back of this. I mean, it probably is as bad as Cav. It's just the dogs just take a bit longer. The Cav obviously gets that instant impact. The dogs just take a little bit more time over time, but they'll cut you down. But yeah, it's a really nice unit. Definitely worth bringing. I'm not quite sure how they have 69. I presume that's 69. Yeah, oh yeah, the officer doesn't have one. Okay. Oh, poor guy doesn't get a dog, but there you go. Yeah, it's a really good unit. 100% bring. But anyway, we now have the shock infantry. We have the Dunherd Chosen. This is the first shock infantry, the cheapest shock infantry available to Dunland. They're a really good unit. For various reasons, and I think Dunland's shock infantry is where it excels the most, which is why people say, "Oh, Dunland's not a great faction." It's shock infantry, I think, is where it excels the most, mainly because it's cheap. Like this Dunherd Chosen is cheap for shock infantry, and it's pretty effective if it can be kept safe, and you can bring quite a lot of it. It's not really got a limit on it. I think you can bring as many, maybe like 6. You could probably maybe bring more. But I think it's not really got a unit cap on it. But it's a really good shock infantry unit. You can see an excellent melee attack, very poor missile block chances. As you can see, they are just like bare chest, no armor on, and has a missile weapon, which is really cool that they have throwing axes. But yeah, I honestly, talking about the throwing axes, I think they could do with a little bit of a buff. I think they need more accuracy. Personally, I think the throwing axes are kind of just they've got this stat that they have a missile weapon. The throwing axes, I'm pretty sure, get 0 kills nearly every battle I see them used. So honestly, I think the devs should maybe like just tweak it, maybe make the Dunherd Chosen throwing axes a little bit more accurate. I say this nearly every time that Dunherd Chosen are in a video. They need to make those throwing axes a bit more accurate, just make them a little bit worthwhile, because people do set up to use the throwing axes, which does obviously then risk the Dunherd Chosen getting shot by archers. So I think making those throwing axes a bit more powerful would be pretty damn good. But yeah, anyway, yeah, 48 melee attack was pretty good. It's obviously what you're expecting from a shock infantry's high melee attack. You got melee damage here at 39, which is pretty damn good as well. I'm pretty sure actually the tribal warriors are getting like pretty close to this though, which just shows how insane they are. I think they were like 31 or something like that. So they're not too far off this anyway. Charge bonus 25, not too bad. That's I mean, it's okay. I mean, you can't really expect it having a good charge bonus if you're an infantry unit, I guess. Melee defense 31. I mean, it's kind of higher than I expected, really, for a unit that's a shock infantry with bare chest. But it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll take it. Armor down at 25. You don't expect it to have high armor, really. And then, yeah, morale at 36. Pretty damn average, to be honest. And speed 34, ammunition 3, yeah, it throws off about 3 or 4 rounds, missile block chance 5, yeah, they don't really have much of a chance of missing stuff, but this is a really good unit, in my opinion. I think it's pretty cheap, it's like 900, so they're really cheap to get, and yeah, that's all I really have to say about them. They're a really good unit. Anyway, the next unit is the one that I like the most in the way of shock infantry, I guess. This is like a really good unit. The Blood Avengers of Dunland are really good. These guys are just awesome. And they also have the Isengard hand-me-downs. As you can see here, they have the helmet, they have the armor, and the axes, I guess. They're kind of like half-orc axes, to be honest. But yeah, these are heavy shock infantry elite shock infantry, and this is excellent melee attack, average melee defense. This actually might be their only elite infantry, to be honest, and poor missile block transit, which I guess is fair enough for a shock unit that's just, you know, holding a big axe. Melee attack is now at 56. It's really really good, much of an improvement. We've got melee damage at 39, so that's kind of that's the same as the chosen. And then we've got melee defense at 36. It's a little bit of an improvement on the chosen, but still, you know, not that great. You don't want this unit to be charged, really. You want it to make sure it's doing the charging. Armor at 40. So yeah, big improvement, obviously, on the unit that has no armor, really. Health at 120. So that's obviously a massive change. Usually you see just 80. With most of the Dunland units, most of the men units. But yeah, because it's a, I guess because they just think it's an elite unit. It deserves to have higher health, just kind of also counterbalance that it's got so little armor. And then you can see here morale, really, really good. It's at 42. Basically, this unit's going to fight till it's nearly dead. Obviously, it will still break. It's not a berserk unit, but yeah, I've seen this unit go to like it's almost out of men anyway. It does go on that long sometimes, or at least it used to. I think Blood Avengers, since they've kind of like had a unit upgrade in size. They used to be like down at 100 or 80, and they certainly lasted a lot longer then. But anyway, speed at 34, and then missile block chance at 25. So 34 is not bad. I mean, it's quick enough to stay out of range of stuff if you need to. And then missile block chance at 25. Yeah, if you get hit by an arrow, you're probably still going to get hit hard. The other thing that you could say about this unit that's kind of distinguishes it does have a unit ability as Warcry. Very, very handy. Obviously, the breaking stuff. I mean, that's really good. I do like that these like some of these units still have abilities. They certainly add to the game. That like some units have abilities. I think that the devs want to probably keep that in really for some units. But yeah, that is the Dunland shock done. We'll now move on to the spears. And as always, when you start a new like category, you have to start with the tribals. And here we are with the tribal levies, the spear units of Dunland. And I mean, look at the spears to start with. There's a good assortment of stuff here. We've got spiked poles and just like wonky spears. Like, an interesting lot, aren't they? But yeah, these guys are the basic spears. They're the levy spears that you get. Very light spear unit. I actually have excellent melee defense. Up there at 46. I mean, that's only 6 higher than the tribal levies, I believe. The tribal warriors. So yeah, I mean, clearly these tribal units are really, really good on defense. If you want to keep that in mind, if you're playing a low, like you got some money left, and you're like, well, what can I just spend it on if I'm defending? Just spend it on some of these guys. Melee defense. Oh no, sorry, melee attack at 20, melee damage at 27. Yeah, melee defense, as we already said, is at 46. Charge bonus 15. Kind of surprised they have a charge bonus. Armor at 15 as well. As you can see, they're not really got much armor. I guess melee defense kind of, you know, makes sense for it being so high. I mean, it's got a big shield. But armor as well. Yeah, 15. We've already said that. Health at 80, and then we've got base value morale at 29. It's not too bad. They're not going to break instantly, but you know, it's like when you get to 30s when you know you got something that's a pretty decent unit. And then speed at 38, obviously it's a very light spear unit, it's going to be able to move really quickly, and then yeah, missile block chance at 15. Not much to say really about this unit. I don't really see it very often, I do see it occasionally, but yeah, certainly if you're like playing on the defense in a siege, I'd certainly recommend maybe bringing this faction, this unit, if you've got like a little bit of money left. But anyway, then the next unit here, which is actually the only other unit that we have for spears, and that is the Elder Spears. These guys are pretty nasty looking. You often see these guys actually in battles, to be honest. I mean, surprisingly, a lot of people seem to like to bring spears for Dunland. They are a really good unit. You can see all green, excellent missile block chance, excellent armor, excellent melee defense. They are really, really good. But again, it's what you want to bring on the defense. I've seen a lot of people bring these guys on the attack, and I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah, they're a really good unit, but they're not really good for the attack. Melee attack is there at 28. I mean, you're getting better stuff with like the Bloodspawn and tribal and like Dunherd Swords. You want to be bringing them really. Certainly with the damage as well, it's 27. It's not as high as what you're going to get with a sword or an axe unit. Which is the other thing. You could be bringing, like, for a similar cost, you could be bringing more chosen instead of these guys. And the melee defense is up at 44, which is actually not much higher than the tribal levies that we've just looked at. So like for the cost, if you're just going for melee defense, it's you're not getting much difference there. Armor at 80 though is a massive difference. That's kind of surprising that is so high actually. That's probably one of the highest I think that we have for Dunland. That's probably highest Dunland has actually is 80 armor, and then health at 80. Morale is obviously going to be very, very high. That's going to be at 36. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's the only other difference as well you get, is that this unit's going to hold for much longer than the tribal levies. Speed is at 34, so it's not too bad. A missile block chance, look at that at 70. Got to be one of the highest as well, I think, for Dunland, maybe the highest. Yeah, that's really, really good. Surprisingly, it's a trained unit. I'm surprised with some of these stats. It may not even, like, it's not getting on for nearly elite. I guess it's a very good trained unit in some aspects. Can form square as well, which is really cool. And yeah, it can form phalanx. I mean, certainly forming square, that's like a dying out trait, really. I think they used to have that for quite a lot of the spear units, and then they maybe not got rid of it with Dunland. I don't know. And remember, the Citadel Guard used to have it, and it was just overpowered that the Citadel Guard had it, being such an elite unit already. But yeah, I'm glad that this unit kind of has it. It's really certainly a very good trait to have. Obviously, fighting Rohan, which has obviously got a lot of cav. So yes, that was very, very good. But anyway, talking about cav, we will now move on to the cav of Dunland. Yes, we are here now with the cav of Dunland, and as you can see, we are starting with the Dunland Marauders. So it's the lowest, well, it's not the lowest tier, you could say. There is a missile cav unit as well to show you off. But yeah, this is the lowest tier, like melee cav unit you can get, I guess. Which is a really, yeah, it's like, I think this might be the only one, to be honest. You've got, the next unit's not really a melee cav. But anyway, Dunherd Marauders, excellent melee attack, excellent, good melee defense, and you've got poor missile block chance. I mean, you can see they don't have much in the way of armor again. So yeah, they're not really going to be blocking much. But their melee attack is at 41, they've got melee damage at 32. Charge bonus 50, obviously now charge bonus is going to be actually meaningful. And then you've got melee defense at 44, and then armor at 40, health 160. Morale at 40, not 47, at 36, so that's pretty good. I mean, it's not going to be, it's going to hold for a little while. Speed at 85, and missile block chance at 25, as you can see there. What is that ability that they have here? They have Raider, which means that they can set units, or they can just set buildings on fire. Excellent. There you go. If you want to burn some stuff, bring these guys. But yeah, it's a pretty good unit. It's a trained unit. It's not bad melee cav. You can see it's medium. It's okay. It's like Dunland can't bring like a lot of variants of cavalry, but I'd certainly say that it can hold its own. It's probably not going to win many cavalry fights. It's kind of like escort like merchant escorts or escort mercenaries. I think that's what they're called, aren't they? Escort mercenaries. It's going to hold stuff in place, and then you can get shock infantry in to join fights. That's what I'll be using it for. Just to pin stuff down to then get your infantry into the fight, because Dunland's probably got superior infantry. It's got superior infantry to its cavalry, and so it needs to use that to win fights, really. And certainly, yeah, if you can get infantry in to join this cavalry, you're probably going to win the fight. But anyway, the next unit is very, very good, and is actually a very scary unit. This is a heavy spear cav unit. It's Champion Reavers, and another unit that has the hand-me-downs of Isengard. And oh boy, it's a really good unit. This unit you can bring as a general. I've got to say actually that you can bring Blood Avengers as a general as well. So you have two different general units as Dunland. But yeah, this is a really, really good unit. Capped at 3, as it is so good. And I mean, oh, let's there we go. And then you can see here it's got all greens really. It's got excellent melee defense. It's got excellent melee attack, good armor, and then you've got melee attack here at 44. And then you've got melee damage at 27. It's not too bad. Charge bonus at 70. So you get, obviously, it's being a spear cav, it's designed to charge. So it's got a better charge than a marauder. Melee defense here at 53. So it can hold its own on if it gets charged. Obviously you'd rather have it charging being a spear cav. Spear cav at the moment is probably the most powerful variant of cavalry in Rise of Mordor at the moment. It kind of chops and changes a little bit, but yeah, at the moment it's spear cav. Health is 170, which is really, really good. Obviously, morale really high. It's going to be in the 40s. It's, yeah, 42. It's not going to break until it's like really low on troops. Its speed at 75. It is a little bit. Actually, that might be the same as the Marauders. What are the Marauders at? 85. No. So it's a little bit lower, just out of just being well armored, and then missile block is at 25. But yeah, it's a really good unit. And yeah, you can't really go wrong with it, to be honest. This is what I'd bring if I was bringing Dunland Cav. If you have the money, you want to bring this unit. Marauders is kind of just a backup. But if you bring in, like, Marauders are more for like a lower cost game, probably. If you've got a high cost and you're playing Dunland, you want to bring this Cav. This is elite Cav. So yeah, you want to bring it. And then we have the final unit, which is the Tribal Raiders. These guys, probably you're not going to see often on the battlefield because for missile Cav, Javies are not really the way to go. You want bows really at the moment. Certainly with the Elven bow Cav doing so well at the moment, these guys would get cut down by them. But yeah, they got very poor armor, very like poor accuracy and poor melee attack. They are a very light skirmish unit, obviously, so they aren't going to be doing too well. I mean, their melee attack, as you can see here, is at 19, 25 melee damage, 35 melee defense, armor at 15, health at 160. Morale is also going to be really low. It's at 19 yet. So, I mean, yeah, if these guys get into combat, they kind of probably break. Even if they get shot up a little bit, they break really quick. Their speed is at 95, so they are very, very quick. So you aren't going to catch them with really any cav. These guys are just going to be just running rings around you. They got 6 ammunition, so they do kind of get through those javelins pretty quickly. Range at 6, but they do have to get very close, which is why best way to combat them is just to use archers. You just shoot these guys with your bows. You break them pretty quickly because they have very little morale. And their accuracy is at 17, so even if they throw their javelins, they've got to get like very lucky to hit you, basically. 17 accuracy. But yeah, there's an okay unit. If it's fighting, if it gets chance, it's probably pretty useful to like get behind an infantry line. Like if you've got 2 lines of infantry fighting, again, a bit like just with the tribal youths, then get it in behind the enemy lines and just start throwing javies into the back. If it's able to do that, if there's archers around, the archers will focus this unit down. But yeah, they are all of the Dunland units that you can bring, really. I will now quickly show you some rosters that I probably put together, but like for attack and defense on sieges. You probably yeah, I'll show you them. So it gives you a few ideas of like what you can bring as a build, what I would bring as a build. So I'll see you guys in a moment. So here we are on the custom battle builder, and yeah, so basically. I won't bother putting on siege because we don't need to. Basically, we're doing sieges because sieges. Usually, if I'm doing a siege, we have about 20k. So let me just change it to that. We usually play like on stream. We usually do about 20k, so we can bring pretty decent armies. We do often sometimes change it, but 20k is usually what gets brought. And yeah, I mean, at land battles, I'll show you a quick land battle roster as well. All it will really change is probably the amount of cavalry. But yeah, if I was probably bringing, like, we'll say I was attacking in a siege, I would probably bring a lot of Dunherd Swords. You probably want to bring about maybe 6 or 7 Dunherd Swords. I'd probably think about that. I'd probably then bring, as you can see, Dunherd Chosen actually are not capped. You can just bring as many as you want. So I'd probably bring maybe 3 of them. I'd probably bring my 3 Blood Avengers. I probably didn't just bring cheap archers, like Elder Archers, because you're not going to need these guys. You probably, since you're bringing Blood Avengers, like just as this, you don't really want to bring Shock Infantry as a general if you can avoid it. So I'll probably bring a general like so, and then I'd probably bring. Oh, I'm just 25 short, so maybe. We'll get out of some Dunherd Archers. Oh, they actually are over 1,000 Dunherd Chosen. I do apologise, I'm misquoting. I thought they were under 900. They must have upped them a little bit. Yeah, it's 900 Dunherd Swords. They're a very cheap unit, very good. We'll get some Warlords Chosen and replace. We'll use them as maybe like push up a ram or something. And then I'd probably get another Cav unit. And then we'll upgrade this Chosen, I guess, with the rest of the money we have. Make it really good. We'll do that and then just put some on the general. Or you could not do that, and then you could just instead do, like, I don't know, you could put your Chosen on instead. You could do that, whatever you fancy. But yeah, that is kind of a build I'd do for maybe if I was attacking. Maybe I may change out a couple of things. You could obviously bring better archers and just sacrifice, but I think the Shock Infantry for Dunland is really good, and you can bring so much of it. Like I said, this is uncapped, so like you could just bring as much as you want. You could bring more if you wanted to. You could sacrifice some Dunherd Swords and bring more of them. Allow your allies to bring more swords while you bring a lot of shock. That is a potential thing, and that's why Dunland I think is really, really good. Because if you actually work as a team, you could like go, okay, I'll bring the better archers. I'll bring, like, if you're playing like elves with Dunland for some bizarre reason, like I'll bring the better archers. and like the better swords if you're playing like Woodland Realm, you bring the shock infantry, because Woodland Realm doesn't have any shock, so that would work as a really good alliance actually, now I think about it. If I was defending, I mean, for defense, I could bring a Blood Avenger General. It's a bit risky still, because you obviously, you probably just could get him shot down. So I'll bring another, I think I'll bring a Cav General again. Probably would start to bring more Bloodspawn this time. Bloodspawn have they're pretty good. Melee defense is not as good as some of the others. I'm obviously going to bring some spears. Probably will bring some of the Elder Spears. And they're pretty cheap as well. So you can bring a couple of these guys, I think. I would maybe bring better archers, though, because you are going to be dueling with a lot of stuff. And then we'll bring, for shock infantry, you could bring either or. I probably would bring Blood Avengers, though. Just because Dunherd Chosen, you're probably going to get focused down by archers. You've got to remember when you're defending, you're more vulnerable to archer fire, I think, because attackers kind of run the pace of the battle, usually. And then I think... maybe I'll bring... this is optional. I mean, it depends how I'm feeling, what I'm like facing. I might bring some Dunherd Marauders just to see whether I could get them out. Maybe go for some archers, kill or kill artillery. I think that's either that, or maybe I would go for just like a Dunherd Chosen or some Dunherd Swords. Kind of really depends. Maybe some Dunherd Swords, because we're kind of a bit short on swords in this match. But yeah, then you could obviously spend the rest of your money on Tribal Warriors. I have a bit left, so it kind of depends. There are a couple of different builds that you could do. And then, yeah, for battles, like for land battles, I'd probably just bring, like, if we were 20k, we won't, usually if we're doing a land battle. So yeah, probably bring in Dunherd Swords, bring in probably about 5 or 6. Then you're probably bringing all the cavalry you can. You bring as much Champion Reavers as possible. And then you probably want to bring some Dunherd. You're probably looking at about 4 cav in our land battles. And then you want to bring the Blood Avengers for sure. You may want to bring some spears. I'm going to bring Elder Archers for this match, because they're a little bit cheaper. They're still pretty good though. I mean, if the enemy's shooting your Elder Archers, that's fine. It's better than shooting your Elder Archers than shooting your shock. I'm going to bring some Dunherd Chosen. And then I'll bring one Elder Spear, I guess, to support the cav fight, maybe. But spears, again, not that great in a land battle, but I have the money, I could do that. And then, I guess, upgrade the general a little bit. But there you go. There are some builds you could do. I hope that's been useful for you guys today with the, like, Dunherd or the Dunland sort of, like, faction overview. They're a really cool faction. Some people really don't like using them. I find them quite fun to use. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a few tips and tricks on using them yourselves in your own multiplayer matches. I hope you guys did enjoy. Do remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're around here, and a comment to show your support. Feel free to join the Discord as well. The link is down below in the description. And I will see you guys in the next one.